How's everybody doing today? This is TheStormPow, and you guys are about to listen to me read off a Dragon Ball Z fanfiction that I wrote some time ago, and this is called Dragon Ball Z History of Gohan, and basically it is a long what-if scenario based off of the movie Dragon Ball Z History of Trunks, and it goes off of basically what if Gohan was sent to the past instead of Trunks, and it goes all into the Cell Saga and everything. It goes on. It basically tells you all how all of DBZ would be different if this were to happen, and lots of crazy stuff happens. It was my first fan fiction ever, actually, but it actually found pretty decent success on fanfiction.net. So if you guys want to read along while I narrate it, there will always be a link in these videos to read the original chapter on fanfiction.net. Or you guys can simply watch the video and listen to me narrate it, because I'd like to think that I do a decent job narrating. I love talking, you know, I never shut up, and I also do some sort of voice acting stuff when dialogue comes in, which there's a lot of dialogue in this because, you know, DBZ has always been a pretty dialogue-based show. I do my best to narrate it, but if you would rather just read it without listening to me talk, then that's why there's the fanfiction.net link, or if you want to read along while I talk, that's fine. Or if you'd rather just watch the video and watch whatever is in the background, if anything, then that's also fine too. But anyway, constructive feedback is always welcome on these episodes, these chapters, these installments, these thingy-madoogies, whatever you want to call them, because I do appreciate feedback on my writing, I guess. I don't know how often I'll upload these. It's just whenever, you know, so however often I get the time to do this. But I hope you guys like this, because this is awesome. I love writing. And I love narrating. Put them together, make a video for you guys to enjoy. Boom, that's awesome. But without further ado, I should probably get to the story that you guys came to watch this video for. Don't worry, there's not going to be this long, convoluted intro every single installment. I just wanted to do this on the first one. Anyway, I need to shut up. That's the thing about me never shutting up. Anyway, here is Chapter 1. Prove them all wrong. Trunks was frantically running down a beaten alleyway. Sweat dripped down from his forehead as his stamina began to weaken. Every step he took was one step deeper into his pride being lost. Instead of fighting the threats that faced him, he ran away from them, waiting for Gohan to save him. What would his father think? Androids 17 and 18 had it in for Trunks. He was a meddling brat that didn't know his place. The evil humanoids had killed Goku, Krillin, Piccolo, and even his father, Vegeta. All Trunks had in this world was his mother Bulma and his best friend Gohan. Instead of protecting his mother, he ran away, fearing for his own life. Even from the beginning of their chase, Trunks could tell they weren't going at their potential speed. The androids were toying with him, waiting for him to lose all of his energy on his own before they beat him into a bloody pulp. Why they were allowing him to live this long, he didn't know. He always had the philosophy of defeating the enemy while he had the chance, unlike his father, who enjoyed to test his limits more so. The many questions that were running through his head finally led Trunks to stop the pursuit. "Have you been working out, kid? You've ran further today than you have in a while," Android 18 commented facetiously. "You're not trying to hit on this wimp, are you, 18? Android 17 asked. "Nah, I wouldn't even hit on his big Gohan friend. Though I am gonna kick on him," Android 18 replied as she kicked the cornered Trunks in the jaw. Trunks wiped the blood off of his face and rubbed his jaw. "Good, because Gohan wouldn't want you anyway, metallic freak." Android 17 did a vanishing move, coming as physically close to Trunks as possible. "That's my sister you're talking about, pal. I suggest you take it back." "Never! I won't let you two get away with this any longer!" Trunks shouted as he punched Android 17 in the chest. "Take it," Android 18 quietly said. She vanished behind Trunks. "Back!" she shouted as she kicked him once more, this time from behind. Android 17 dodged Trunks' flying body and watched him hit the nearby building. Trunks began to collect himself as best he could, staring at the androids, uncertain as to whether or not he should try to retaliate in this condition. "How would you like it if I talked badly about an important lady in your life, Trunks?" Android 17 hypothetically asked. It took him a moment to realize exactly what he meant. "You stay away from my mother, you monster! She hasn't done anything to anyone!" "All the other people we've killed? They didn't do anything to anyone. Do we look like we care?" Android 18 asked. Trunks, unable to think of a retort, began to charge his aura. He knew he was going to become a Super Saiyan this time. He was certain. The wind began to turn as his hair began to stand up. The pavement below his feet began to crack. He gripped his fists into one final push of power until it was all a dream. Trunks awoke to see his mother hovering over his bed. "I have breakfast ready, son. Gohan says to meet him outside when you're done. He wants to talk to you." Trunks didn't say a single word. He just hugged his mother, thankful that she was still alive. After eating his food, he eagerly rushed outside to meet Gohan. "Mom said you wanted to talk to me." "Right. Trunks, I don't think it's a secret that the androids aren't letting up. Our efforts aren't doing anything at all to them." "No, don't say that, Gohan! I look up to you." Gohan interrupted Trunks. "Let me finish. I think it's pointless for you to train anymore. There's just too much of a gap between you and the androids. Even if you trained until you were as old as I am, there'd be no way you could defeat either of them. Even I can't do it, and I spent my childhood fighting people like Frieza and your dad." Trunks once again was without words. He didn't know how to react to what Gohan had just told him. He'd never questioned what Gohan told him. Gohan was his mentor, and always had an answer for everything. It's just that this time, the answer wasn't what Trunks wanted to hear. He literally had dreamed of going Super Saiyan, and now Gohan was urging him to quit chasing that dream. He was on the cusp of something he had strived for his entire life, only to have the idea crushed. Gohan continued, "I'm gonna continue training though. If I work harder than I ever have, I could maybe take them on. I just don't want you to get hurt, Trunks. You have to understand. I know that you've always been taught to never give up. So have I. But sometimes that isn't how it works during desperate times like this." "But Gohan, you were in danger when you were training with Piccolo. Why can't you take a risk with me like he did with you? You turned out great." "I wasn't the last of my kind when I was training with Piccolo. I was much less of an asset. When Piccolo was training me, I was a whiny, spoiled brat. There were several other Saiyans out there, still alive. You and I are the only two alive right now, Trunks. If something happens to me out there fighting, I want you to stay alive at all costs." "I guess I understand," Trunks muttered. He gave Gohan one last look and walked back inside. Gohan knew that Trunks had more things to say to him, but didn't, out of respect. He decided he would bring it up later, after letting all these thoughts simmer in Trunks' head for a while. Trunks couldn't sleep that night. All he wanted was to sleep, so that he might have a dream similar to last night's dream, where he was a hero, where he achieved the Super Saiyan transformation. He looked at Gohan across the room. Trunks hopped out of his bed and ran into the streets. He was going to prove Gohan wrong. He said that he couldn't fight against the androids. Trunks knew he could. He flew into the air and began to scan the location for the androids. "Where could they be?" Trunks shouted to himself. "Isn't it past your bedtime?" Android 17 sarcastically asked, as he vanished immediately in front of Trunks, almost identically to how he did in Trunks' dream. "I'm gonna shut you off, Android!" Trunks yelled as he sent out a dynamic combo of hits against Android 17, each one bouncing off of him, leaving him unscathed. "You're interrupting my beauty sleep, bug!" Android 18 had just vanished behind him. She grabbed Trunks by his head and lifted several inches, now bringing them at eye level. "You think you're tough because you stay out late? Well, let me tell you something. You're not. You're weak, just like your pathetic father." "Don't you badmouth my dad!" Trunks shrieked, ignoring the pain his cranium was feeling. His hair began to rise slightly. "Girls don't like guys with short tempers. We better shut you up before you end up being a problem," Android 18 said. She swung her arm back and then thrust it forward into Trunks' stomach, creating a hole in his abdomen, which bled profusely. She threw him from the skies in which their confrontation took place and onto the ground as harshly as she could. The pavement where he landed gained a gigantic crater. Gohan heard the chaos outside. He ran into Bulma's room. "Bulma, I can't find Trunks. I think something may have happened. Come outside!" They immediately saw the crater. The androids watched them above, not interested in creating their demise just yet. "No! My baby! Trunks! Trunks!" Bulma cried after seeing her only son wounded on the ground. She and Gohan kneeled down to see him. "Mom, give me a hug," Trunks simply stated. Bulma hugged Trunks tightly. Every single line of her family was now dead. The only person in the world she had to protect her was Gohan. The androids left the scene, undetected by Bulma and Gohan. It would be there that Trunks would die. Over the course of the next few months, Gohan remained pacifistic. He did indoor training as to not keep himself out of shape. Bulma, meanwhile, was working on her time machine design that she had been working on for some time before Trunks' death. Gohan had talked to her about it for a while, as his realism slowly sank in, realizing that fighting the androids was a futile effort. Not wanting to crush his dreams and knowing that he had potential, Gohan was planning on sending Trunks to the past. He wanted Trunks to be able to meet Vegeta. Gohan gave up the opportunity to see his mother and father again, so that Trunks could see his father once. He was going to save the surprise for closer to the time that the time machine was constructed. Gohan secretly didn't want to get Trunks' hopes built up, only for the time machine to not work properly, but he would never tell Bulma that. Nonetheless, the day soon came. Gohan was the only hope for the past. It was his goal to venture into the past, cure Goku's heart virus, and help the Z-Fighters prepare for the android attack. And that is the end of Chapter 1, so I hope you guys liked it. Let me know what you guys think, and I will be uploading the rest of the chapters as I get some chances to. But for now, I would like to thank you all for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and goodbye!